In every corner of the world, there are secrets, stories that exist beyond understanding. Tonight, we uncover three terrifying haunted tales: the abandoned mega prison complex, the abandoned mega casino resort, the abandoned underground shopping city. This is episode 162 of Dynamic Dark. Put on your headphones and let the fear begin. Today's first story is the abandoned mega prison complex. Deep inside a forgotten industrial zone, hidden far away from civilization, stood a massive prison complex that had been abandoned for decades. The prison was once one of the largest correctional facilities ever built, but everything changed after a mysterious incident where hundreds of prisoners, guards, and staff disappeared without leaving any trace. After years of silence, urban explorers Ryan, Ethan, and Sophia entered the abandoned prison to uncover the truth behind the disappearance. The giant gates were covered in rust, the security towers were empty, and the entire complex looked completely lifeless. But as they moved deeper inside, they noticed something impossible. The old prison systems were still active, lights were turning on by themselves, and distant sounds echoed through the empty corridors. The explorers came looking for an abandoned prison, but they soon realized they had entered a place that was never truly closed. The prison was not empty, it was still operating. Near the main entrance of the abandoned mega prison complex, and they discovered a terrifying sight that made them question everything they had seen so far. Several old prison buses were parked in the darkness, covered with rust and dust, looking like they had been abandoned for decades. But suddenly, the silence was broken. The engines of the old buses started by themselves. Their headlights turned on, and the doors slowly opened as if they were waiting for someone. Inside the buses, the explorers found the remains of dead prisoners and guards sitting silently in their seats, frozen in the same positions from the night the prison disappeared. The atmosphere became even more disturbing when the buses began moving without any visible driver. Then, from the darkness behind the steering wheels, tall black featureless ghost drivers appeared. These mysterious entities started controlling the old prison buses and drove them toward the prison gates, continuing a prisoner transfer that had never truly ended. Deep inside the abandoned mega prison complex, they entered the old prison dining hall. The massive room was frozen in time, with hundreds of tables covered in dust and untouched meals that looked like they had been prepared only moments ago. They expected complete silence, but then they noticed something impossible. Plates were being arranged, food trays were being placed on tables, and the sound of footsteps echoed through the empty hall. At the dining tables, they witnessed a horrifying sight. The skeletons of dead prisoners were still sitting in their seats, eating the food placed in front of them as if they were still alive. Their forgotten routine was continuing inside the abandoned prison. Moving between the tables were tall black featureless ghost waiters, completely black silhouettes with no visible facial features. They calmly served food to the skeleton prisoners, repeating the same actions from the prison's final day. The explorers realized the most terrifying truth: the prison was trapped in a never-ending loop, forcing the dead prisoners to repeat their final meal again and again forever. Deep inside the abandoned mega prison complex, they discovered an old prison courtroom hidden away from the rest of the facility. The massive courtroom looked untouched for decades, but something impossible was happening inside. The audience seats were filled with the remains of dead prisoners and prison guards, sitting silently as if they were still waiting for a trial that never ended. The air was heavy, and the sound of the old courtroom echoed through the empty room. At the front of the courtroom, tall black featureless ghost judges and ghost guards continued a mysterious trial, following the same routine from the prison's final day. They called names, read charges, and judged prisoners who had been dead for decades. The explorers watched in horror as the impossible courtroom ceremony continued around them. Then one of them noticed an old case file placed on the judge's desk. Inside the file were names written on the pages, their names. The prison was not only repeating the past, it was preparing their trial next. Deep inside the central control room of the abandoned mega prison complex, they discovered the true heart of the entire facility. The massive room was filled with hundreds of old security monitors, broken control panels, and outdated surveillance equipment that somehow still remained active. Inside the control room, they saw something impossible. 10 tall black featureless ghost guards were sitting silently in front of the monitors, watching every corner of the prison as if their duty had never ended. The black ghost guards continued monitoring the abandoned facility, switching between camera feeds and observing the prison's endless nightmare. Curious and terrified, they looked at the security screens. At first, they saw different areas of the prison, the buses, the dining hall, and the courtroom. But then the monitors changed. The cameras were no longer showing the past. They were showing something impossible, scenes that had not happened yet. The explorers realized the prison was not only trapped in time, it already knew what was going to happen next. Deep beneath the abandoned mega prison complex, they discovered the final prison block hidden away from the rest of the facility. This forgotten area was the darkest part of the entire prison, where the last horrifying incident had taken place decades ago. As they entered the prison corridors, they saw something impossible. Tall black featureless ghost guards moved silently through the darkness, still protecting the prison block as if their duty had never ended. Inside the old prison cells, skeletons of dead prisoners remained sitting on their beds, frozen in the same positions where they had spent their final moments. In other cells, the bodies of dead prisoners and guards were still lying where the mysterious incident had happened. The deeper they went, the more terrifying the prison became. The walls were filled with forgotten records, abandoned belongings, and evidence of the final night when everyone disappeared. Then they discovered the horrifying truth. This prison block was not abandoned. It was still being guarded by the black ghosts, while the dead and the skeletons remained trapped forever inside. Today's second story is the abandoned mega casino resort. Hidden far away from the outside world stood a massive luxury casino resort that had been abandoned for decades after a mysterious night of disappearance. On that final night, hundreds of guests, employees, and performers vanished without leaving behind any explanation. The authorities closed the resort, and over the years, the once glamorous building became a forgotten place surrounded by rumors and unanswered mysteries. When three explorers, Noah, Mason, and Oliver, entered the forgotten casino resort to uncover the truth, they expected empty halls, broken machines, and a silent building. But the moment they stepped inside, they discovered something impossible. The lights were still working, the sounds of the casino echoed through the halls, and the resort looked like it was still waiting for its guests to return. The casino was not abandoned, it was still alive. Inside the Grand Casino Resort lobby, they discovered a horrifying scene. The massive entrance hall was not empty, the abandoned resort still had its employees. But then they realized the terrifying truth. The entire casino resort crew was already dead. Receptionists, bellboys, managers, and security staff were still lying around the lobby as if they had died during the mysterious final night of the disappearance. The strange part was that the resort looked like it was still waiting for guests. Reception desks were prepared, security stations were active, and old employee routines seemed frozen in time. They searched through the abandoned guest records and found something impossible. Every guest who entered the resort on that final night was still listed as checked in. Nobody had ever checked out from the mega casino resort because nobody had ever left. They continued deeper into the abandoned mega casino resort and reached the luxury dining area. The grand restaurant was completely silent, with hundreds of tables covered with empty plates, untouched glasses, and forgotten dinner settings from the resort's final night. Behind the restaurant, they discovered something impossible. The abandoned kitchen was still active. The lights were glowing, the cooking stations were prepared, and the sound of kitchen equipment echoed through the empty halls. Inside the kitchen, tall black featureless ghost chefs were still preparing food. Their dark silhouettes moved silently between the counters, cooking and following the exact same routine they had performed on the night the resort disappeared. They prepared meals for guests who no longer existed, trapped forever in a never-ending cycle of service. The explorers realized the casino resort was not just abandoned, every part of it was still repeating its final night again and again. Deep inside the abandoned mega casino resort, they discovered a massive entertainment theater that once hosted the resort's biggest shows. The grand stage was covered in darkness, and the entire hall was silent after decades of abandonment. Backstage, they found the remains of the performers from the resort's final show. Dead human dancers and entertainers were still lying in their costumes, frozen in the same moment when everything disappeared. Suddenly, the stage lights turned on by themselves. The old music system started playing, and the empty theater came back to life. Then, 6 tall black featureless ghost dancers appeared on the stage. Their dark silhouettes moved perfectly, performing the exact same dance routine from decades ago. In the audience seats, dead guests watched the performance silently, never moving, never leaving their seats. The explorers realized they were not watching a show from the past. They were watching the final performance that was still happening forever. Beneath the massive mega casino resort, hidden far below the main floors, they discovered a secret underground VIP vault that was once reserved for the richest guests. This hidden area contained the most valuable possessions of the people who disappeared on the resort's final night. As they entered the vault, they found a horrifying sight. Dead VIP guests and security guards were still inside, frozen in the exact place where they had been trapped decades ago. Expensive jewelry, luxury items, and forgotten belongings remained untouched around them. But the most terrifying discovery was near the massive locked vault doors. Tall black featureless ghost security guards stood silently, continuing to protect the vault even after all these years. They never moved, never spoke, and never abandoned their duty. The explorers realized the vault was not just hiding the resort's treasures, it was hiding the final secret of everyone who vanished that night. After exploring every hidden corner of the abandoned mega casino resort, they finally reached the central security room deep inside the facility. This was the place where the truth behind the mysterious disappearance was finally revealed. Inside the massive control room, they discovered something impossible. 10 tall black featureless ghost security operators were still sitting in front of hundreds of security monitors, watching every corner of the resort as if their duty had never ended. The screens showed the entire casino resort, the lobby, the kitchen, the theater, and the VIP vault. But then they noticed something terrifying. Every camera was showing the same final night repeating again and again, trapping everyone inside an endless cycle. As they searched through the monitors, one screen suddenly changed. It showed a new recording that had just been created. The casino had already detected their arrival and had marked them as the next guests of the resort. They realized the mega casino resort was never waiting for its old guests to return, it was waiting for new ones. Today's final story is the abandoned underground shopping city. Deep beneath a forgotten city existed a massive underground shopping complex that was once considered one of the largest commercial centers in the world. It contained hundreds of retail stores, luxury boutiques, restaurants, cinemas, supermarkets, and entertainment zones, attracting thousands of visitors every single day. Then, without any warning, everything changed. One mysterious night, thousands of shoppers, employees, and security staff disappeared without leaving behind a single clue. The entire underground city was immediately sealed, and no one was ever allowed to enter again. Years later, 3 female explorers, Emma, Chloe, and Lily, decided to uncover the truth hidden beneath the city. They expected to find nothing more than empty corridors and abandoned shops buried in darkness. But the moment Emma, Chloe, and Lily stepped inside, they realized something was terribly wrong. The lights were still glowing, escalators were still moving, and distant announcements echoed through the endless shopping streets. The underground city had never truly been abandoned, it was still operating, waiting for new visitors to walk through its doors. The 3 explorers continued walking through the endless shopping streets of the underground city. Every store looked perfectly organized, as if the employees had closed only a few minutes earlier. Shelves were fully stocked, display windows remained untouched, and abandoned shopping bags were still scattered across the floors. Then they noticed something horrifying. Dead shoppers were still standing and sitting throughout the shopping streets, frozen in the exact moments when the mysterious disappearance had happened. Some were still holding shopping bags, while others stood in front of store displays as if time itself had stopped. Suddenly, the lights inside the stores began turning on one by one. The silent shopping district slowly came back to life. Inside the stores, tall black featureless ghost employees appeared behind the counters and along the aisles. They silently arranged shelves, folded clothes, cleaned display windows, and prepared the stores exactly as they had on the city's final day. The explorers realized the underground shopping city wasn't waiting for its old customers to return, it was preparing for new ones. The 3 explorers continued deeper into the underground shopping city and eventually reached a massive food court that once served thousands of visitors every day. Hundreds of tables remained untouched, with empty plates, abandoned drinks, and forgotten meals still covering the dining area. But then they noticed something impossible. Dead shoppers were still sitting at their tables, frozen in their final moments, silently waiting for a meal that would never arrive. Some were still holding menus, while others stared toward the empty kitchen, expecting the service to continue. As the explorers moved closer to the kitchen, they heard strange sounds coming from inside. The abandoned cooking area was not empty. Through the kitchen doors, they witnessed a horrifying sight. Skeleton chefs were still preparing food, moving between the counters and cooking stations, repeating the exact same routine from the night the underground city disappeared. The explorers realized the food court was not abandoned, it was trapped in an endless final day, where the dead continued serving a city that no longer existed. Deep inside the underground shopping city, the three explorers discovered a massive cinema complex hidden between the abandoned stores. The building contained multiple theaters, old ticket counters, and forgotten movie halls that had remained untouched for decades. They entered one of the largest theaters and found a terrifying scene waiting inside. Skeletons were sitting across the audience seats, still facing the giant screen as if they were waiting for the movie to begin. Some still held old tickets in their hands, frozen in the final moments before everything disappeared. Then, without any warning, the cinema came back to life. The projector started running by itself, and the giant screen suddenly illuminated the dark theater. When the explorers looked toward the projection room, they discovered something impossible. Tall black featureless ghost projectionists were still operating the old equipment, continuing to play films that had not been watched for decades. But the most terrifying part was the screen. The movie playing was not from the past. It was showing events that had not happened yet. The three explorers continued deeper into the underground shopping city and discovered a massive entertainment zone that once attracted thousands of visitors. The area was filled with arcade machines, gaming halls, virtual reality rooms, and a huge professional bowling center. Inside the arcade section, they witnessed something impossible. Skeletons were still sitting in front of old arcade machines, playing games that had not been touched for decades. The screens were glowing, and the sounds of classic games echoed through the abandoned halls. In the gaming rooms, dead human visitors remained frozen in front of computer screens, repeating the same final moments from the night the underground city disappeared. Then, without warning, the lights above the bowling lanes turned on. The old scoreboard activated, and the empty bowling center came back to life. 6 tall black featureless ghosts appeared on the lanes and began bowling silently. They continued the same competition they had started decades ago, as if the final match had never ended. The explorers realized the entertainment zone was not abandoned, it was trapped forever in its last game. After exploring the endless underground shopping city, the three explorers finally reached the central control room that controlled every part of the massive complex. This hidden room was the heart of the underground city, monitoring every store, restaurant, cinema, and entertainment zone. Inside, they discovered a terrifying scene. 10 tall black featureless ghost operators were still sitting in front of hundreds of security monitors, watching every corner of the underground city as if their duty had never ended. Every screen showed the same impossible thing: the underground city was still operating. Stores were open, customers were moving, and the same final day was repeating again and again. Then, one monitor suddenly changed. The screen showed the explorers walking through the mall, recording their journey inside the abandoned city. But something was wrong. The timestamp on the footage revealed a terrifying truth: the recording was not from the past. It was dated tomorrow. The explorers realized the underground city was not just repeating history, it already knew what was going to happen next. This was episode 162 of Dynamic Dark. Which story ruined your night? Tell us in the comments. The most terrifying comment will be pinned. Episode 163 is coming. Indian horror large space chudal stories are even darker and more cursed. Like, subscribe and press the bell icon. If you dare to step into the darkness again. Everyday new horror episode at 7:45 p.m. only on Dynamic Dark.